So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews. We'll discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Aaron Patrick, who's director at Business Works UK. So, first, Aaron, thank you for spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, your business, what you do, how you help people, that'd be wonderful.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for letting me come on this podcast.
Very welcome.
My name is Aaron Patrick, and I am a chartered accountant first and foremost. So I always like to start with that part of it. I'm also a YouTuber as well. I've got a YouTube channel called Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap. So if ever you need anything to do with the world of QuickBooks, if that rings any bells, if you've ever seen that before, I've got, 800 videos now sat on there that can help you from start to finish on getting yourself set up properly on that. I'm also a trainer as well, so I do a lot of training for businesses, primarily on QuickBooks and other accounting products. But I love anything system in a business. Like, you give me an opportunity, like Claude and ChatGPT are my two best friends at the moment, and I'm loving kind of helping them be integrated into work, into clients. But I suppose the reason you've got me on and kind of my main kind of role is I am owner of an accounting group called Accountants Advisory Group, which has a few different accounts firms. And it's not as big as it sounds, or as glorious or as grand as it sounds. We just wanted to make sure we had niches available. And one of our niches was we acquired a company called Business Works. That's what I'm here for now. I'm director of Business Works in Garforth, Leeds, or just outside Leeds, I suppose is the official term. And what we love to do is not only provide compliance, every accounting firm provides a compliance right, but we love to understand a business, get to know a business, get involved in businesses. Nothing more than business advisory, system advisory, from helping any type of thing. It's been a real breath of fresh air for me acquiring this practice, because my other practices are very compliance focused. So we get to teach, and understand how to do a VAT return.
Yep.
Wonderful, wicked, wow. I didn't train to just do VAT returns, right? I trained to help businesses, support them, help them grow. And that's exactly what Business Works is all about. And I'm absolutely loving it. I've had to, you said, you knew Joe, the old owner before, right? I've had to embrace the orange of it all, though. So I've got everything orange. Yeah. Including orange trainers and an orange car, and all in on.
Brilliant.
So I'm embracing the brand as well.
Brilliant, love it, absolutely love it. So that I'm just talking about your background. Perhaps you could talk a little bit further about your background, how you got to this point, and why this particular business excites you so much.
Yeah, great. I love that idea of talking about the background, because it gives you a chance to really think about it, doesn't it? And it's almost therapeutic sometimes, because you kind of sit there and you're on your hamster wheel, running. And I do this with clients all the time. It's like, especially when you first meet them, or you've not seen them for a while, give them that chance to kind of go through it. It really does help, doesn't it? So my background, I started off as an accountant, working my way up, and then I got this inkling that there's got to be a way, or a better way, in my opinion, to try and lower the opportunity for small businesses to get access to an accountant, like lower the barrier of entry for them. And with the adventation of like cloud accounting and items like that, it just gave me the opportunity to be able to service more clients in a more efficient way, because we were using cloud accounting, and I was able to be more efficient at adding the information in and everything else like that. And that grew into like my first practice, which was called Bofix, and we kind of built it from there. And I really got to laser focus again on that compliance side. How do we be efficient at compliance? How do we just, get rid of all the BS, if you like, and let's just focus on let's deliver a service that a traditional accounting firm couldn't do, because they were still dealing with paper and everything else that went with it.
Yes.
So we kind of built that one around it, and I got so excited and interested in the whole training of that aspect of it, and training that's when I started doing more business advisory for clients and helping them out, and I got an opportunity to work in for QuickBooks as a trainer, so I got to deliver training on behalf of them.
Yeah,
and that's how I met Joe, who's the previous owner of Business Works. And we just got on, the whole group did. We call ourselves the Training Writing Network. And in fact, tomorrow we're all going down to London to have a nice meal and all that sort of stuff. And it was a real group of helping each other out. And we've always kind of helped each other out as gone through. that's where the opportunity came to acquire Business Works, because of that group and that friendship. And yeah, it was. I'll always remember when that opportunity came. I just couldn't say no. Right, like it's the perfect fit. It's a similar sort of practice has been built on the right. You know, it's all been built the right way, like on the
Yep.
right culture and the right way and
Yes.
the right sort of clients. And I know that the clients mean so much to the people here, right? That they look after them, and that just gives you a great base in then, doesn't it, to be able to
Yep.
go and go in. And yes, I've come in with new ideas, new technology, and new software and everything else, but all with an opportunity to go, right, again, how do we streamline that compliance stuff to give us more bandwidth to actually go out and help the clients and
Yep.
be more attentive to them and everything else. So yeah, I absolutely love it. And I think having gone through that process myself now, it means I'm even more attuned, if you like, to when I speak to clients and understand more of their pain points now, because
Yep.
acquiring a business is, yeah, it's a whole different world that I was always aware of because I've helped other clients do it. But when it's your own, your eyes just open so much more and you learn so much
Yes.
more. Um, and yeah, and then we've just acquired another practice as well, and we've kind of got this opportunity to just have that, nice, massive. We're not massive by any stretch of imagination, but we've got enough team members and resources now to help any type of client out and be able to, pivot with them.
Yep.
A word you mentioned before, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of go from there. So yeah, that's kind of my background and where we got to where we are.
Brilliant. And given sort of acquisition is front of your mind at the moment, it'd be good to know what are some of the things you learned, or what are some of the good stuff and things for anyone thinking of acquiring might want to keep an eye out for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's sometimes one of those things, isn't it? You go around and you're giving advice to clients and everything else, and you kind of you've either read it in a book or you've heard it on a pod or whatever, right? And I think it's not until you go through the process yourself that it really starts to
Yes.
click in as that's why they were talking about this. That's why you're going through there. So it's those things that I'm sure you've told people and many people on your podcast have heard before. It's like you have to have that mindset from day one of any business that whenever you start, like start thinking about having that exit strategy from day one. So make sure
Yep.
you've got those elements in place. In the accounting world, for example, um, a lot of the negotiations around what's called the annual recurring revenue, sorry. So that number becomes so important, right? Because
Yes.
you have to know that number and you have to be able to prove that number and understand that number and everything that's with it. Um, and it's made me kind of think back to the practices I've already built. Like, yes, I know that number, but could I prove it on a dime? And seeing how how it's done from the other side, you can see that that's how you have to have that standard. You have to have that thing,
Yep.
and it's not one of those things that you should go, oh, let's wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. No, you need to, whatever industry you're in, whatever that metric is that's going to be your thing, you need to be able to understand that and be able to explain that and
Yeah.
earn that and learn that and understand that number, right?
Yes.
So that was a big opening, understanding for me, and it's really made me more in tune with that number. I always knew what that number was, but until I'd done it myself and acquired myself, I wouldn't be able to like just pick it out of and
Yes.
show and explain it. But now I'm fully acute on it. And then the other one is making sure you've got those days, 90-day plan, 60-day plan, 2 month plan, 3 month plan, like have those bits in place and make sure that you don't let yourself not or fall away from it, because you'll start the process and you'll think you're doing really well, and all it takes is one issue, one problem, and suddenly your whole plan gets derailed, and then it's so much more difficult to get that plan back in.
Yes.
We had this plan where we wanted to bring in this new system and this other new system, and we wanted to bring in this other solution. So we were looking at CRM, we were looking at our practice management solutions, we were looking at the way we deliver solutions. Like I'd have all these systems I'd already had in my previous practice. So in theory, it was pick up and
Yeah.
place, right? But that's never how it's going to work, because you've got to train your team, you've got to train your
Yeah.
staff, you've got to go through and everything else. So I knew I wasn't able just to drop it all in at once, but I had this plan of, right, at 60 days we're going to implement this one, 90 days we're going to implement that. You know what I mean? And I was so in the weeds at some point that I'd let that slip. And
Right.
looking back, that's something that going forward you can't afford to do. Like, you've got to set that in stone. You've got to allow yourself the time to build these systems in place, because you know yourself, once you've built those systems, you start to actually get control over it.
Yes.
At the beginning, it's this whole new world that you're learning and you're trying to understand and trying to figure out. But until it's your systems and your processes and your control, you always feel a little bit out the loop. And for me, now that we're starting to get those controls in place, now we're starting to get those systems in place, now I feel like I'm in control of what's going on, and I feel like I can make the right decisions, and I
Right.
feel like I've got data to understand what's going on. But I put that off way too long, or at least longer than I should have done,
Yep.
because I didn't stick to that strict
Yes.
strict timetable. And I think that's really important.
Yes, yeah, I would agree. I agree completely. It's having regular plans, long-term goals, short-term plans is the way we typically operate to make sure, as you say, everything's in line. And I guess, looking at your own business or even your clients' businesses, what would you say are some of the key factors to successful growth, Aaron? Would you say let's say maybe in any environment, obviously there's one or two
Yeah.
environments that aren't quite aren't, can be challenging, like COVID and lockdown that we talked about, but in general, what would you say are the things that people should be working on consistently to guarantee or give them a best chance of growth?
Yeah, for me, the biggest or the most successful growth I've seen is when the owner manager, who is the visionary, right, is the person who has, trained all his or her life to, do something different. There's normally USP that means they've got into that particular field or whatever business it's going to be, right? And typically, if that owner manager is the bottleneck,
Yeah,
that's where the growth stops, right? Like,
yeah,
there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much opportunity. There's only so much chance that you're going to have to go out and win more work, and or whatever, whatever your driving role is at that point in time. And the most successful clients we've got and the most successful clients we've seen are ones where we've been able to work with them to grab their amazingness, like the reason that they are who they, like, they've got this business where they've got,
yeah,
and build controls and systems and processes in place, and be able to replicate that as much as we can to the right members of staff and the right team and the right everything, and build that management layer that can replicate all that goodness that owner
yeah,
manager's brought to the table. And I know I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt. Like, it's a very expensive affair, way to do it, and I get it. Like, from a financial point of view, it's not something you can do overnight, but you have to keep working at that goal. You have to
yeah,
keep thinking about, how do I get to that next, what lump of fees, or what how many, do I need to open up a branch, or whatever it's going to be, whatever your sector is going to be. What is that financial goal I need to get to start building that layer of trust and that layer of foundation in? And once you've been able to nail that, that's when real growth starts to come in, right? Because you've effectively replicated yourself. I was just we have a podcast for accountants that we do, and I was speaking to someone yesterday, and Claude, the AI solution, has just released this brand new solution called Teacher Skill, and it's very much like Scribe. I don't know if you've ever come across Scribe, but it's
yes,
a
yeah,
SOP solution. So anyone who doesn't know, it's a way, instead of you having to write down each step of a service, you basically reenact the service, solution, system, process, whatever it's going to be, and it's really clever at taking screenshots and trying to fill in the
brilliant.
gaps. And Scribe's great and a good solution, but
Yes,
Claude's now doing that in product.
brilliant.
So you can basically go and screen record you doing a solution, and it's going to create this lovely SOP, we call it. I never remember what the acronym is supposed to be for SOP, but I always call it SOP. But basically,
I think
the
it's
process,
Yeah, I think standard operating procedure. I think is
standard
the
operating procedures. That's it.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's it from
yeah.
memory.
We just say SOP and never really
Yeah, no,
use
that's
double.
fine. Absolutely.
but but that there is already like 24 hours in, and I'm replicating so many of these systems and solutions I've been doing, and I'm already delegating them, right? So we're getting the tools to us.
Brilliant.
And I'm there telling you that, it's all about you not being the bottleneck. But I've been the bottleneck for my
Yeah.
practice for such a long time. But it is finding the right tools, the right systems, and right solutions to be able to go, you know what, I'm doing it this way, and I don't think I can ever pass it to anyone. But actually, if I write it down and use a
Yes.
solution like Scribe or now Claude or whatever it's going to be able to kind of picture what that's going to be, you can start mapping out which bits
Yeah.
can be passed over, which bits can't, or which bits you need certain people in or certain other solution or whatever it's going to be, right? But just saying I can't, I'm the bottleneck, or not even knowing, but just not even looking at what it is that you're doing as the owner manager and not being
Yeah.
able to delegate that is the biggest barrier of growth that I've definitely come across. So trying to find practical ways and the right team there to be able to pass that over has been is definitely the key to start unlocking proper growth.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's I often find people I work with. It's also a mindset issue, in that we're taught from a very young age the harder you work, the more successful you'll be, and it's absolutely correct and common sense. The challenge is as a business owner, for me, we get to a point, as you rightly say, if we're working pretty much 24/7, we cut and the growth of the business depending on our time, it's impossible. There is no more resource.
Yeah,
So it is changing the mindset to it's not how hard I work, it's how well I lead a group of hardworking people. And but that's almost like chalk and cheese, I think. And so
one
it's
hundred percent.
it because the first sort of thought of a successful person is at that point, what do I do? Right, we want to grow more. Right, what do I do? And it's like we've got to get that change. I heard a lady speak, a lady called Jennifer Byrne a few years ago, and she said a couple of things. The one that really one of the things that stuck with me was she said, I mean, she's ex CTO at Microsoft, so I give you an idea. So she,
Oh
she
wow,
she knows
wow,
her
yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
she
do
said
know.
in
Yeah,
the
now you'd say it, I recognize
yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, and yeah, but she was. I mean, she was a brilliant speaker anyway. But clearly, she knew her stuff. But she said in the US now, when they recruit C-suite executives, they actively test them on their ability not to do things. And you
wow.
and you can see a bunch of there's loads of business owners in the room and said, did she actually say not? And and then the penny was dropping. Certainly, for me, it's like, okay, yeah, that's not a job anymore. If our first thought is what do I do, then we're not operating at C-suite level, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, 100%, exactly. And it's such a shame, isn't it? Because there's so many talented owner managers out there who,
Yes.
yeah, we're never taught that in schools or anything, right? Like management or anything like that is not a
Yeah.
curriculum that we do. And yes, there's some really good solutions out there, like I'm sure yourself, like and there are people to help it, but it's a skill that sometimes we don't know we need. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not obvious that that's the skill that we need to unlock our full potential. But yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And it is. There's definitely I've seen it in a lot of businesses and a lot of practices and everything else where you can almost tell when that penny drops, like you said, like
Yes.
when that penny drops of, wait a minute, I'm the bottleneck, and wait a minute, I'm the reason that we're not growing, right?
Absolutely. And what's funny, what I find funny, Aaron, is that when you start to get business owners the other side of that, and I warn them now, is they start to feel like a loose path. So if you get it right, they go, I, I, I had a couple of hours that didn't know what to do. And it's
Yeah.
like that's okay. That's normal. That's exactly that's an okay thing. The next thing will be things about strategy and planning. But if we're operating at 100 mile an hour all the time, we're still the bottleneck. Aaron, I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm just keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that is business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, business coaches wise, I've had a few over the time, and they've always been, um, yeah, really really impactful, right, and really useful to it. But actually, I think more so, I'm thinking more of like life lessons, and for me, it's been past bosses that have done it, and even
Yeah,
as far as like my very first boss that I ever had in the accounting industry. Brilliant guy. Um, and it was a family owned business, and he took a punt on me as a young 16-year-old to do an apprenticeship and everything else. And I'll always remember he turned around to me one day and he was like, Aaron, yeah, you were right to talk about XYZ with this. You know, we were in a client meeting and it was like a debrief afterwards. And he goes to me, but when you own your own practice, you're going to need to consider this, this, and this. And I was like, what's the on about? I'm not going to own my own practice. You know, you'll be lucky if I ever leave this place. Do you know what I
Wow.
mean? Like, but obviously, he saw something, right?
Yeah,
He saw
absolutely.
something. He saw whatever it was. Like to this day, I have
Wonderful.
no idea what he saw, but he obviously, you know, he
Yeah,
saw the tea leaves and he went from there. And it was that kind of opportunity for him to like look so far ahead. Like that's
yeah,
always stuck with me. He was always, it was like playing chess and he was 6 moves ahead of everybody else. Like that's what his special power was. You
brilliant.
know, he went into clients meetings and, you know, knew their business inside out, but also knew where they needed to be, right? And I've
Yep,
always tried to aspire to be that and try and be
brilliant.
there. But also work ethic. Like my very, very first job was I was a Saturday lad at a butcher, right? And it was just so important to me to kind of see this guy turn up every single day, other than a Sunday, I think it was, at the crack of dawn, work, 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 work. But you know, he knew that he was building his little opportunity. Like
Yes,
this opportunity fell into his lap, and he wasn't going to let it go. And he was building this butcher, and he created this great team and great community around him. And you know, it was just so good to see that, like you were saying, that hard work thing, like that's where you see it. You see it from people because you're inspired by what they're doing, right, and how they're
yep,
doing it, and everything else. And what I always got from him as well was it wasn't just about like, okay, he worked hard, like you were alluding to, and everything else, but also he knew when it was time to let someone else have an idea and come to the table with
right,
innovation.
right.
And there's me as that little like basically I'm a geek, right? So any opportunity for me to bring an iPad to the table or whatever it's going to be, or a computer or a system, I'm going to do it. And he let me go like this. Every Christmas we had this inundation of this big massive workload we had to complete because of all these turkeys that need to be sold, right? And every year it was a big problem and a big pain point, and it was stress and all that sort of stuff. And he just like, if you've got an idea, I can go for it. So I was there and I systemized the whole thing and I
Brilliant.
put these like tickets in place and all this and the other, right? And we had the best Christmas. And from there on in, we just kept refining and improving on that solution. And it was just so good to have that like opportunity at such a
Yeah,
young age, just to go and show a bit of innovation and show everything else. And to this day, every appraisal I have with every team member, we have a section and it's almost like dedicated to him, and it's innovation. Have you got anything that you think we
love
could
it,
do better? Like, tell me. Like,
love it.
none of my systems or processes are finished yet. I'm still tinkering and tweaking with them. Like, is there something we've dropped the ball on? Is there something that's taking
Brilliant.
you too long? And I ask every single member of staff, every single appraisal, like that innovation question. So yeah, and I think for me, amazing business coaches and all that in the past, but I think I was just so lucky to fall into the laps of some
Yeah.
really inspiring people, and I think that's where I've got to where I got today.
No, fabulous. Yeah, I think it's I think a lot of people I meet, a lot of successful people I meet will pull bits of information from different sources, and it's just like it's just and often it is that modelling of that really works, that really inspired me. So I'm going to, as you've highlighted, the fact that you've still got this sort of innovation section in your review from something that inspired you as a young lad. That's absolutely wonderful to hear, and I think that sort of becoming a role model or learning from a role models is key. And whether it's from either of those role models you mentioned or anywhere else, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings you catch yourself using a lot about success or business or life in general that you could share?
Eyeballs, not crystal balls, and I get so criticized for that one
Oh,
because
if we just repeat that, eyeballs, not crystal balls. I like that.
eyeballs, not crystal balls. Yeah, because it's one of those things that in our accounting world, like it's all about supporting documents and
Yeah,
having confidence on numbers, right? Like we can't send a VAT return out, we can't do anything unless we understand it. And so many times my a team member will be like, blah 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 blah. They'll go off on some rant or something. I'll be like, well, what do you want me to? Eyeballs, not crystal balls, right? Like give me something so that we can start working back, right? And that's what I've always kind of like built all our systems and processes in house to be. It's like, well, if you were asked a question, can you answer it, or are you going to have this mystical thing to be able to find the solution, right? And it's connecting the dots and putting the right places in, and building a beautiful picture so that everyone can see it, right, and everyone can understand how it was built.
Love it.
And it was all driven by eyeballs, not crystal balls, because it just drives you home to go, look, I can't guess on this. I've got to use my eyeballs. I've got to be able to see the process. I can't just
Yeah,
guesstimate it.
love it. I love that. It made me think of when we when we sold our first business. We had some really big hitters coming in after us. Right? We're not particularly interested in name dropping, but I remember one was a French company, and
Nice.
we were having this presentation to the French company about our business, and then about the future. And our technical director decided, I don't know why, to go off on one, for want of a better word, and tell all about these wonderful things we were going to achieve. And I remember the French CEO of this very large company, and he just said, "Gentlemen, I love your dreams, but I will not be investing in them." Thank you. Yeah, because
Wow.
it went off into the realms of crystal balls. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Not the
yeah,
eyeballs
yeah,
of what we're doing now and how that might take ourselves another step forward. And I just remember him saying it in a beautiful French accent that I
yeah.
can't imitate. And I just thought, yeah, it was one of those things. Brilliant.
Uh,
Brilliant.
that
And
must be such an opportunity for you to kind of really take stock of what's going on, isn't it? It's like, you know what, like for us to get this off the ground or whatever, I've got to change my way, right? And yeah,
yep,
sometimes it's that stern, like absolute to the point thing where you go,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
let's reevaluate here.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we better start again. Let's look back again. And again, the recommendations. Any favourite books or podcasts you can recommend, including your own, of course, about business or success or life that you could recommend or you like personally?
Yeah, so my problem is I can't remember the name of the book. There's this one book that I come back to time and time again. It's terrible that I've forgotten the name of it. Um, I'll try and remember it as I go along.
Yeah,
But podcast wise, I'm a real big podcast. It's not just podcast; it's YouTube as well.
yeah,
For me, anything to do with that opportunity to listen in and understand. So my world is quite niche, right? The accounting world,
yes,
especially accounting YouTubers. So I count myself as me and probably five others on the planet at this point in time to
yeah.
properly delve into it. But there's a guy in my sphere called Jason Stats. His name is, and he built his accounting practice up, sold it, and then decided all that learning to just throw onto YouTube.
Great.
Um, and it is so good to like listen to it and understand it. But because he's got that time and because he's built that so much success, he's now been able to build a community around it, and he's been able to really have an opportunity to understand what like ticks and what didn't tick and what's going right, and seeing what's going through. And he's the first person to use Claude Cowork or jump into the brand new piece of software that's there. And for me, like I'm a
Yeah, yeah,
shiny, I'm a magpie, I suppose is the phrase, isn't
yeah,
it? Anything shiny, anything new, I'm straight on there and everything else. And it's the same with tech as well. Like I love my video production tech to make it so quicker and speedier. And I love like the newest laptops. And if an Apple keynote event comes up, I'd watch it and I'll go straight to watching some of the YouTubers who are analyzing that down and go through from there. And that's that it just really helps me to kind of understand it, and the podcasts around that world and everything else. So yeah, anything that's tech related, anything that's accounting related, I'm fully subscribed to, listen to all the time, and go from there. Like, and then the big hit like MKHD, Marcus Brownlee, people like him, like Linus Text Tips, all of those sort of ones. They're kind of like currently my big inspiration, if you like, because it's all about. I don't do the podcast and the YouTube as my main job, right? So I need
yeah.
to find ways to make it faster and quicker and
Yes,
be more efficient and learn on how to
yes,
how to how to be able to figure it out, right? And if it wasn't for spending the time watching those and understanding the new cameras or the new anything else or whatever it's going to be, I wouldn't be able to do what I want. And my other like reason I love people like Jason Stats and stuff like that is the fact that they built a community around it. And I think we built our podcast. We're really proud of it. Like, we're really happy with what it is. But we know that community side, there's more to come out of that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's more we can do. We've got numbers, but we're not we're not dealing with it properly, right? And
yeah,
there's more we can get out of it. And watching people like Jason, like how he's interacting with his community and
yeah,
how they're
brilliant.
building their own, like that to me is absolute goals one day for making the most out of that sort of effort, right? Because there's so, yourself how much effort there is into putting a podcast together, bringing it to the line, and everything
Yes,
else. Like you wanna it's it's not for me about financial reward. It's about having a reward out of it. And I think that's
yeah,
having a community that can really help one another out.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I'll look those up because I feel the same. I know we're not. I'm not getting building as much as we could. We put a lot of effort, as you rightly say, into the interviewing and not really, yeah, not maximizing the value of the learning that's embedded in it.
Yeah,
And so I'm really keen to do that because speaking to people like yourself, there's so much learning there that can be shared. If an interview goes online once or twice, there's only a few people going to watch it, and it's maximising the opportunity for people to watch it. So I'll look those up, and just sticking with the learning front for now. What would you say you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far, Aaron?
ooh, what have I learned? What have I learned? I've learned being a geek's not a bad thing.
Yes,
um
geeks will inherit the world.
yeah, yeah, it generally was. It was always about the things that I was always like, oh, should I stick my nose in and think about this idea or that idea? But actually, you know, that's what this world's all about, isn't it? It's there's every generation they're coming up with new and quick things. Like, we love bringing apprenticeships through our business on
Brilliant.
all the different practices, right? Because they've got so much insights into how they've been doing things and how their like teachings change and what the technology they're using now and everything else. And I think that's definitely something that I've learned over time that I'm never gonna like. I always thought myself as like one of the world's best Excel whizzes, right? Like, I can do a Visual Basics and a if statement and a vertical lookup and all. Yeah, that's like one of my skill sets that I'm really proud of, right? And then this new generation comes along, and goes, you do realize in Copilot, if you just tick this box here and click this box here, it does it all for you anyway.
Yes.
And why are you bothering to do it all? And they're right? They're absolutely spot
Yeah.
on. And as long as you can kind of have that skill set to understand that how it got to that point and where
Yeah.
it got to and everything else, and as long as we don't lose that important kind of
Yes.
fundamental bits, then let's use technology to help us
Yeah.
build that and go through from there. I just feel like we're in a really exciting time for stuff like that. Yeah, I'm definitely on the cautious side with AI, with certain aspects of it and everything else. And when I say AI, I mean like just technology. Like, every software has it now, right?
Yep.
But I do see some major benefits for it, and I think that's what I'm learning more than anything now, is just that we've got to embrace what the youngsters are bringing to the table, because that's exactly what got me where I am in my career, right? If it wasn't for those
Yeah.
people letting me come up with
Brilliant.
these crazy ideas and talk about this and change that solution and everything else, I think I wouldn't have had the confidence to do what I'm doing now. So I think that would be what I've learned more than anything. It's like,
Brilliant.
yeah, watch what you've done and figure out what you've done and try and replicate the same success elsewhere, right?
Love it. Love it. And going back to something, actually going back a little bit to something we talked about earlier, in Action Coach organisation, that we have a definition of a true business, which is a
Yeah,
commercial profitable enterprise that works without its owners. I'm keen to know your
nice. Yeah,
thoughts on that
yeah,
and what you've seen in everything you've done so far.
100%. I mean, it goes back to that. What's a successful business, right? And it is
Yes.
that thing, and it's what people want to buy. And if I without giving away too much of the financials or anything of the deals I've done, but all the deals that we've done in this acquisition have all been businesses where I'm not buying that person. I'm
Right.
buying their amazing skill set that they've been able to replicate all the way through their business, right? So you're going to be attracted to the owner manager when you come to acquire, right? And you're going to look at that as inspiration, everything else, but the real valuable ones are the ones that've been able to instill that all the way
Yeah.
down and have that values and have that thing. It's like, and you see it everywhere I look in this practice. And I mean, at some point, yeah, it's going to change over time, and we're going to make some changes, obviously, but we would do a disservice to everyone involved if we just completely and utterly
Yeah.
ripped it up and started again, right? Um, and I think that's that's a real credit to businesses out there, and it should be an aspiration for all businesses, right? Like get to that point. And what you'll find as well, and I've seen this so many times with so many different clients, is you become serial entrepreneurs, right? You'll build this amazing business and amazing practice. Maybe you'll sell it, maybe you'll carry on, or maybe you'll get to the point where it will then support your next great idea. And that, for me, that's the dream, isn't it? It's
Right.
like I want to make better in this industry. I want to make better in that industry, or whatever it's going to be. And yeah, you need a bit of luck, you need a bit of everything to get that first one off the ground. But hopefully, that can start giving you the emphasis and the confidence and the financial resources and the the team members to go and do the next one and then the next one and build it up from there. And I think that's the real top owners and earners and everything else out there are the ones who's able to be able to keep just replicating it and building there.
Yeah.
And one of the big success stories in our industry, and this particular person has gone from we kind of started at the same time in this whole social media YouTube world, and we were kind of helping each other out. She was on my YouTube channel, I was on her YouTube channel, that sort of thing. But she's gone absolutely to the moon. And the main difference that she did from day one is she treated it as a franchise. She's no intention of ever selling this practice. Like, this is her opportunity to build it. She built it with her husband, and she's just going to keep building and building on it. But every step that she made was a franchise, and that's in her mind and a mindset. She was building it as a franchise with no intention of ever selling, like I said, but with the intention that means that then if she brings a new person on, well, it's already kind of set how that's going to be. If she acquires a new practice, set how it's going to be. If she goes and starts a new, geographical location somewhere, it's already set. Like, all of the hard work's already done. It's just pick it up and place it. And I think, to what you're trying to say there about this whole idea of having that management and all that, like that's the mentality you need to have. Like, it's almost a franchise that you're building.
Yes.
And you're giving the keys to the people to go and run that. But that's what you're doing, right? And you're inspiring them to go and make the best out of it. And then hopefully then you'll get more and more opportunities for more and more franchises down the line. And that's how you're going to build that opportunity to get critical mass.
Yeah. No, that makes absolute sense. It's interesting because I talked to a business a couple of days ago, and it was husband and wife owned the business, and they were talking about the goal is to exit in 3 years' time. And we talked about the idea of creating a business works without you, and we discussed, and that made a lot of sense. But then she said, of course, when we sell it, we'll be stuck. You will have to work within it for the next 1 to 3 years. And I said, well, no. If you follow the process of creating it work without you, you're actually selling the profit and cash flow. You're not selling your knowledge, because that's embedded, as you've said, earlier, Aaron, very, very eloquently. We were embedding your knowledge into the business before you sell it. There's no need for you to stay and therefore transfer it then. And it was like, but again, that idea of staying in the business is so common. People expect that's what's to happen, but it doesn't need to be if you do what you're already doing, and say with the businesses you've got, which is transferring the knowledge into the business itself.
100%. And that's staying in the business. I mean, some industries, some services, they can't get away with it, right? You've got to have that period. But and I've been in both situations. I've been as my career progressed, I've been in a practice that's been bought out, and I've been in a practice that's been acquired, right?
Yep.
And both of those situations, there was these people who were staying behind, and every situation, there's always been a bit of awkwardness, or not quite like the new owners, can they make the changes they want because the person's still there, and the old owners, well, can they stick their nose in? And it becomes so messy, right? And
Absolutely.
so and unfortunately, for most of the situation, it becomes a bit of a tainted experience. And you don't
Yeah.
want that, right? You should be
Yes.
celebrating your success. You've just sold your business or you've just acquired a business. Like there should
Couldn't
be
agree more.
excitement and everything else. What you don't want is that blocker or
Yeah.
that's almost sour taste. And I think, yeah, I think as you said, if you can build it up to that point where that's not needed, I think it works for everyone. Yeah, you've got to pay a premium for that. And yes, but you're paying a premium for such a better product overall, right?
No.
Like it becomes worthwhile.
I think everybody wins, don't they? Because the acquirer gets something that they don't need the knowledge inherent in a couple of people to take it on. You pay a bit more
Exactly.
for it, as you rightly say, but you know, or there's way more confidence that the level of profit and cash available is consistent over time. It's not you take you take the owners out, and all of a sudden half the customers leave. There's a
Exactly.
lack of knowledge that no one can do that particular thing, and it's a nightmare. So, Aaron, just looking forward then, what does the future look like for you and your group of businesses, let's say? And what do you think the main challenges are that you face, if any?
Definitely challenges ahead that I can guarantee. Uh, and it's not just to our industry. I mean, it's in every industry, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
struggling to get staff in, right? Like staff is a
Yes.
real struggle. Every
Yes.
meeting I'm having at the moment, my own, like if we're looking at, our own practice or we're looking at clients, we're talking to a client just yesterday, right? Really, really successful client. They're doing really well. They've done an EOT, so an ownership trust, employee
Yep.
ownership trust, and like really exciting times for them, right? And they were talking to me about they had this number was what they want to get for turnover, and this is the number they want, and everything else. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And you look at their forecast and you're like, it's probably achievable. And I just asked them a question like, but how are you going to get your staff in to start delivering that? And they're like, yeah, we didn't really think of that. And that's the problem, right? Like a lot of the businesses at the moment, it's not about like doubling or tripling your turnover to get to the figures, because that means you've got to bring those staff in and that infrastructure in and everything else to do it. It's about maximizing what you've got in a lot of
Yep.
situations. And that's a lot of what we're doing with clients at the moment. It's like, right, well, how do we be more profitable in here? How do we, make this more efficient so that we can have more time to do whatever we need to do? And that for me is where it's all about consolidation at this point. I purposely, and I'm either going to live or die on this sword, right? But again, back in my previous career, I've seen it where an acquired business has come along and they've assimilated him, and that name that was originally doesn't exist anymore. And we purposely haven't done that in our acquisition. Again, we're not this massive conglomerate of multi partners or anything. It's just me and my wife, but um, we purposely don't want to go and just acquire and then just turn it all into the same. Like
Yeah.
we want them to be their own separate
Brilliant.
entities, have their own separate uh, USPs, and hopefully then we can learn off one another and trade. And either that's a really clever idea or that's a really stupid idea. We don't know what yet. We're going to learn and figure out as we go along, right? But you know, for me, that's what my next challenge is can I make that idea work or not? Because
Yeah.
it's clearly something that people don't recommend to do because it is so much easier to assimilate and have it all as one and full control. But can we keep these as separate like
Brilliant.
pots, and can we make that work? Have synergies where we can,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to start doing that next. And that's what my
Brilliant.
next goal is going to be, is trying to build on that legacy that we bought or the legacy we've already built in both situations, right? Build on both of those separately, but without trying to tarnish one or another. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting, but that's what it is, and definitely no acquisitions for a while because that's been a learning curve to say the least.
I get that. Well, I'll draw one of my favourite quotes from Henry Ford in your terms. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So
Yeah,
you'll just
yeah,
make it
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
the word belief comes into mind. It's just like if you
yeah,
believe you can, then you will. I've no doubt because there isn't. That's one thing I've learned in business and helping people grow businesses is there isn't a right way or a wrong way. There's just our way, and
yeah,
and the success that comes with it. So I'm sure you will make a success of it, and it will be different from a whole bunch of other conglomerate type organisations, which may or may not be the right way for that particular person.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just looking back, and then one last thing: if you started your business again, or this whole process, is there anything significant you do differently? Do you think?
Yeah. I think one of the things that we've done, or I've changed over time, is it's gone from just me to now me and my wife. And that dynamics worked really, really well. And it's helped us, it's yin and yang and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah,
And it gives me a chance to, blossom more because I'm not having to worry about every little bit. But what I've also learned is that in the first practice I built by myself, should I say, I had to communicate on every aspect at every time, right? Like I had to, like this. It's such a lonely world being a business owner, right? I
yeah.
was like probably telling way too much to the team. I was like, and everything else. And now because we're in that dynamic where it's me and my wife, and it's like where we'll go for a dog walk and we'll talk about business, and we'll go to the cinema and we'll talk about business. Every aspect of our life is being consumed at the moment, and it won't last forever like that.
Yeah,
But at this moment in time, when we're in this growth period and we're in this kind of consolidation period and everything else, we need to be on the ball, right?
yeah,
But what I've learned massively is that just because we've had that conversation means that I haven't told the team that, and I've had to completely and utterly like take a step back and go, you've not really done that communication of things that you were so good at the early stage of your, with the other practice. We've kind of lost that now.
right.
So yeah, if I could change anything, I would kind of learn that quicker, because communication is so important, right? Like
Yeah,
you can have all of these visions and opportunities, and you can have all of these things and ideas that are going through. But if you don't communicate those and you don't keep everyone on the same
yeah.
page, it ain't going to go anywhere, right? They have to be in the boat with you. You can't just go and sail that ship by yourself. So I've kind of got to learn, and I've, as you grow and as you get bigger and everything else, you've got to get that opportunity to keep telling people that, keep selling your dream, keep everyone on board. Otherwise, people, they get nervous, right? Or they get like confused, or they get concerned, or whatever emotion is coming out of it. So
Yes.
yeah, I've definitely learned that so much easier in the early days to get that communication, but you got to fight, you've got to keep pushing. It's almost like you got to discipline yourself, right? You've got
Yeah.
to discipline yourself, that keep telling the same thing, keep bringing people on board with you, keep the updates coming, because it's so hard to drop that ball.
Yeah, and I guess going back to something you said earlier about the innovation bit, if people don't know where we're headed, then it's more difficult for them to help us get there.
100%,
You know,
100%,
it's
exactly.
like that's why we need to communicate, because they might have the idea that takes us to that next level. Because I
Yeah.
love what you've said, and in fact, it's something I might recommend to some of my clients to have that section in general. And so, final question, Aaron. And then this is about you, just in general. What would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
Oh, what I give myself, 18 years old. I mean, I'd be 2 years into my accountant at that point, but um, oh, that's a really tough one. I tell you what I definitely needed to learn quicker and earlier and sooner was this whole idea of mapping the things out, like I was saying before, like,
Yes.
and that doesn't have to be an owner manager. This is anyone in business, right? Whatever your role is, whatever it is, like map it out, map that feature out. And one thing I do quite regularly now as well is I forget about what systems and processes we've got, and I map out whatever task we're trying to do. So a real like easy one to kind of visualize is onboarding a client, right? Like
Yep.
every business, every practice needs to do it, right? And when you onboard a client, and this is what I used to do back in the day, it was like I would go, right, this is the system I've got, and you'd always get this jigsaw piece. You'd be like, well, I'm going to attach this to here, and this is how I'm going to ask them to fill this form in, and this is how I'm going to communicate with them, and you use all your existing tools. You're trying to mismatch it all together. But actually, for me, the best thing to do, and what's really kind of started us thinking outside the box a lot more, is go forget what tools we've got now, forget what tools are available.
Yep.
What would be my ideal world of onboarding a client? What's that the best way of doing it? You can apply this to any task. So as a youngster, if I'd have known, if I could have, forget what I was doing and take all the limitations away, what is the ideal way of completing that task, the VAT return, or whatever it is I was doing at the time? Visualize before what it is and how it is that you would do it without any limitations,
Yep.
and start trying to build the best of what you've got with either the tools you've got or the tools available or systems or whatever it is. But never forget what your end goal wants to be, because over time, those limitations will go away. Over time, you'll find new ways. Either you'll get better skill set or you'll learn some new skill that will fill those gaps in. And I think it's just that, like, dare to dream, right? Like you kind of what you kind of said at the beginning, right? Dare to have that dream, dare to have that idea, that ideal way of delivering a service or delivering a piece of work or whatever it's going to be. And I wish I known that sooner, because there were so many times when I almost held myself back because I was like, yeah, well, this is the best I've got, so I'm going to just do this and this for now, and I'll come back to it in a couple of. Well, you never will, right? Or you'll forget about it, or you'll move on, or whatever, right? But if you visualize it and have that kind of almost ideal solution, and below that have what it is now, and then try and work towards the ideal one. I think in most like scenarios in business, you want to strive to do it better.
Absolutely.
And we're terrible. Well, I'm definitely one of the worst at like not finishing a job right. So unless I've got that visual process of what I want that job to do and tick it off to say it's done, I can procrastinate and not get that job finished. So yeah, for me, I need that goal, if you like, of getting to those bits. And if I'd have known that sooner, I think I'd be a lot further down in this process than I was now.
Well, I mean, it draws us towards it as well, doesn't it? If you have that long term thing, as you said, if it's just a bit more of what I've got, that will take me so far. But if my goal is so far into so far ahead, even if I think that the phrase, if you shoot for the moon, you might shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. Whereas I think one of my colleagues said, but if you aim for the tree, you might end up in the bushes. And I just thought that's a good way of
same concept, but not quite as
yeah.
grand.
But I mean, interesting. If you and clearly as a human being, he's got some interesting behaviours. But if you look at Elon Musk's vision of putting civilizations on Mars and other planets, it's a driving force for his life and people around him. And I don't know about you, but obviously he founded or co-founded PayPal. For me, I think they sold it for about $3.5 billion. It would appear that was just he went, I need some money. What's the quickest way to get a whole bunch of money? He didn't go. I don't know about you, but I think $3.5 billion would be probably enough. In all honesty,
we'll be all right.
Give or take. And I think most. Well, I can't. It would have been enough. Whereas for me, I think it was just how do I bankroll the next stage of getting to Mars, and then
had
obviously
that end goal in place, and that's part of his evolution to get there, right?
And he's walked back, and then someone would have said, well, we don't have the rocket capability to get there. Oh, okay, I'll sort out some rockets. Oh, no problem. And then, the atmosphere. The atmosphere. Obviously, we need to send some robots up there beforehand because human. I'll sort robots out. Okay, and then we'll need to live underground because it's so hot or cold. I can't remember which one it is. We're gonna need sort tunneling. And it's just because I've got that goal, I've achieved these other things, and it's a fascinating example of. And we all have our, North Star, whether it's Mars or, as I say, something perhaps slightly more modest, which certainly would be for me, if I'm perfectly honest. Aaron, it's been fascinating talking to you today, and it's been very enjoyable. I really thank you for your time and your knowledge, and for anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or Business Works UK, what's the best way of communicating with you?
Yeah, best way for me is the YouTube channel because I've got all my links and everything on there. So
Brilliant.
I'm Patrick, the QuickBooks chap. You'll see loads of content, even if it's not QuickBooks. There's loads of business related content on there as well, and then there's links to everything from LinkedIn to I think I still have Facebook, maybe, but it gets there one way or another. Emails, Calendly links to booking meetings, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, by far the best way.
Wonderful. Well, look, it'd be great to swing by another 6-12 months and just see the next development. You've said no more acquisitions in the short term, but I'm not totally convinced of that one. So let's see where we get on that. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. It's been really, really good. Thank you for that.
It's been great.